Hello there, and welcome to the next episode in the Task Force Road Trip. And for this episode, I am bringing you Game Over. We'll call it Game Over. Technically, it's like dot Game Over, not dot the word, but dot like the period Game Over. And that actually dates way back in the day when you used to have to try like doing stuff like that to differentiate yourself from the other 30 Game Over task forces. So dot Game Over, but we'll call them Game Over for the purposes of this video. The hashtag is down below, obviously, for anyone interested in taking a quick look at them. Game Over is a 25-man task force that is, I guess, in the bottleneck range of ops, give or take. It kind of depends on the day and how much intel and, how many people are involved and stuff. But, like Mambo to bottleneck-ish sort of range seems pretty fair. And I'm not sure if I covered it, but they're English-speaking, of course. And the reason they're English-speaking is because they're primarily based in Canada, and not in like a French part of Canada, but an English part of Canada. And the reason that I know this is because this is the task force that started it all. Not necessarily the task force road trip, but like just me in general playing Boom Beach. This is the task force that I joined and was part of for the first however many months of playing the game. So it's kind of like an antique road trip because flashback to the old alma mater. I don't know if that's appropriate, if that works, but I'll say that it is. Time out. I gotta check out this attack. I'm pretty happy with this attack. I'm not gonna lie to you. Not necessarily because it was an incredibly difficult map. As far as Dredge goes, this is actually one of the easier maps as far as I'm concerned. Just because instead of like the normal boom cannons, you got flamethrowers up there. There's no rocket launchers that have immediate range on your firing spot, if you would. But there are some rocket launchers over there on the right, and you can see how close they get. Just about there. Absolutely just skimmed by. I love it. I love it. I really do. So, and then also with this mine, again, just skimming past it. I love it so much. I was really happy just with how the distance was measured and stuff. I thought I did a pretty decent job there. And then, of course, come the end part of the attack where I get to throw my 3 shocks and basically lock everything up. The first one taking out the cluster of mortars with the solo mortar, and then the next one taking out the machine guns and flamethrowers and stuff, and then the third one taking out the mortars and the shock launcher in the back there, and just burning down the HQ like a boss to make for a dead Dredge. Nice, easy attack. Love it. Not always an easy attack, but this particular one, I made it look like I knew what I was doing. I don't know what I was doing. It was just easy. So anyways, the task force originally got started. And with this particular task force, I'm able to look at the responses from the task force leader, but also I can kind of add in some extra little bits that I've got stowed away since I was in this task force for so long. I know a thing or two about it. So the task force started off basically as just a group of friends who all started playing Boom Beach around the same time. All kind of decided, hey guys, let's do this, it'll be fun, and it kind of grew from there. The friends and coworkers and families and like everybody kind of drew everybody in, threw together a task force, and had some incredibly great times. Unfortunately, most of the original people from the task force have since moved on. So it's kind of like a new crew. It used to be pretty easy to be like, oh yeah, this is a Canadian task force. Every third line in the task force chat had the word A at the end of it, but because it has since become a little more diverse, that is no longer the case, but that's okay. It's still fun. It's still a great group of core people, and like a lot of the people who have joined in are very passionate about the game, are trying to help the task force improve and do great things. So it's kind of nice to see them doing fairly well. So the biggest roadblock the task force is currently experiencing, according to the task force leader, is too many low offensive players. And when he says that, I know what he's talking about are these crazy people who are floating around with green statues. So instead of, rolling in with, I'd say, 6 to 8 offensive statues and doing some mad attacks, you got a bunch of guys in there that have like 3 offensive statues, and that's about it. So they're running into the roadblock where the people can't really pull off the ops in some cases because they just don't have the statue build out for it. Also, kind of coupled with that is, and then this is just kind of my own little insert here. The people who are active in making an effort in a lot of cases don't have those statues. They're rocking the greens and whatnot. But there are also a lot of people who are, I don't want to call them leeches, but the less active people in the task force may have more, the levels and the statues and the whatnots to make things happen. But because they're less active, they, can't be relied on, and thus, have problems making things happen. So, very, very sad to see. But if you're active and you're looking for a new task force home, this particular task force might be a good fit for you. It might provide some info, because one of the nicest things, and I guess I'll skip down to the rules now, is with this task force, there are pretty much no rules. Like, you can swear, there's no intel requirement, there's no task force attack requirement. Basically, it's just do your best, actually try hard. And obviously there's room for abuse in this sort of a system, but, there are people who are vigilantly watching, and if they see someone who's slacking or appears to really be abusing the system, things are said and or done about it. But yeah, it's kind of nice, because if, you produce only like 40 intel one week, no one's, looking at their calculator going, hey, that wasn't enough, you're out. But if you do like 150, people will love you and probably name an op after you, because they'll be like, oh my goodness, so-and-so got 150 intel. That is this entire op. This is John's op. I don't know what John, man. Anyways, so yes, that kind of covers, I guess, the progression, some of the rules. We'll move on to the ops daily versus high level challenge, and they of course are doing daily ops, or more frequent ops, we'll call it, as opposed to more challenging ops. Partially because, one, there's that inconsistency, which if you're trying to do harder level ops, you never know when you can rely on someone to attack or not. But also, if you've got the sure thing, the daily op that's going to give you a reward, it definitely helps the lower level people level up quicker. You get that steady stream of loot, and hopefully it makes things all good and fancy. And then you can, you know, as you get to be a higher level, perform harder ops with more troop levels or statues or whatever, higher troop levels or statues, I guess, technically. But let's not get into how to make with the words. So yeah, currently that's kind of how they're rolling with the day-to-day op running. They say it's easier to maintain the task force points because you're going, you know, you start not based on how many points you have, and the higher end ops tend to get too tricky for the current task force members, which cause problems. And that's why I say, like, you know, if you're looking for a place where you want to just practice Smoky Zuka a bunch, this might be a good place for you to land. It might help them out. It might help you out also. Kind of like a Smoky Zuka like this. I'm, you know, just throwing it out there. This guy seems to look like he knows what he's doing. Not really. So, yes, where is everyone from? The HQ for this task force is based in Canada, but members' operational areas are classified. I love it. Sorry, that's freaking awesome. So yes, the vast majority, at least especially in the beginning of the task force, it was a Canadian primarily based, and I'm pretty sure at this point it's kind of veered away from that, because I know there's definitely some people from the other side of the pond, meaning like the other side of the ocean, like Asia and whatnot. And there's also, I think, some people from like the UK and or possibly Australia and or other things. So there's a nice little mix in there now. We covered the rules, obviously, like everybody else that I've talked to. No sabotage, none whatsoever, because it's horrible, horrible, horrible. I get the impression people are really unimpressed with sabotage. Just going out on a limb here. So, very nice. Finally got a response to what's your favorite maps and least favorite maps. The task force leader, who is, I guess his task force name is, oh my goodness, I am spacing on his task force name. Well, we're gonna go with Reese's Pieces. Yes. Holy smokes. I can't believe I'm spacing out on his name. Alright, well, anyways, doesn't matter. He responded, and he said, personally, I hate quota, or quota. Quota, I guess, is what you'd have to call it, because it's just really hard. It's kind of grindy, and dredge is very easy, except for sometimes when low-level people get too enthusiastic and waste their attacks on it because they don't smoke properly or they don't clear the mines, and, you know, nuke their troops. So, great to see some task force maps that people like or dislike. Why is your task force the size it is? Ksoze. Sorry, it just came back to me. So the task force leader is Ksoze, which is a reference to Ksoze. And the messed up thing is, I'm pretty sure I've even mentioned this in previous videos at other times and just been like, Ksoze, awesome dude. And I stand by that. Even if I can't remember his in-game name for 5 seconds, great guy, both in and outside of the game. Absolute pleasure to hang out with, and awesome sense of humor, and great sense, or great taste, I guess, would be the appropriate term, in movies, because, come on. Usual suspects. Man, I am failing with the words today. Usual Suspects. freaking fantastic. Anyways, I'm gonna move on. So, wait. Now I'm gonna move on. I had to kind of, yeah, there we go. So, the task force is a 25-man, mostly because it seems to be the sweet spot between op cost and having, you know, players attack for intel and whatnot. It seems to be just in that right place that makes things so great and makes life easier. And then, that's just a bunch of medics just standing there. Sorry, the medics are just standing there. Why? At least Shin, it was good enough to hit the retreat button to make them clear a few extra mines and get some extra use out of it. I applaud your sacrifice, good sir. Well done. So, as far as third-party apps are concerned, the task force uses Telegram, and it's actually an anonymous group, I guess, as opposed, because I know people are like, no, I don't want to be giving out my cell phone number. Are you crazy? No, that's hacks. It's technically, you don't have to give out your cell phone number. You can sign up for Telegram outside of your phone, and things are great. And then, of course, there's no associations with other task forces, no feeders or anything like that. And then that brings us to the final question, which is, what kind of changes would you like to see made to task force ops, if any? And I thought this was actually just a very poignant answer. It was very good to see, because it really does address the problems that this task force is running into. And the answer is they would like to see an overhaul to op rewards, so that people who don't attack on a failed op don't get any rewards. Because as it is now, if you do an attack and you fail, you get like the partial reward, and they're basically saying if you didn't contribute at all to the task force attack, you shouldn't get any loot. Now, that's not to say if a successful attack occurs and you just didn't have time to join in, or it was killed too quickly, or whatever, you shouldn't get loot. They specifically say on a failed attempt, because really, if you're failing an op, every single person in the task force should be attacking, doing their best to make that attack a success. So if you're failing an op, people who don't attack shouldn't get any loot. It seems pretty fair, because they didn't contribute anything to getting that partial reward. Also, if they were to do that, because op, as my understanding of op rewards go, op rewards are based on the number of people divided by the loot and the things and the stuffs, so maybe people would get some more loot that way who did try to contribute. I don't know. Anyways, great suggestion. I absolutely love it. Thanks very much, guys, for watching. Hopefully this has been helpful. Hopefully it's been entertaining. And most importantly, hopefully you guys have a fantastic day.